Hello everybody, we're going to start day 5 notes on unit 6, which is functions. Today we're talking about writing equations. So you have to be able to write an equation from a graph and write an equation from a table. And all of these equations are centered around the lines that we draw on the graphs. So these are actually called linear equations. Okay, and the equation that we're going to focus on writing is the slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b that we learned when we did slope. Okay, so there's going to be some practice. So we're going to go ahead and do some practice. But once you get the hang of it, you're going to go boom, boom, boom. Again, I am showing you the way that I think is most beneficial to you in 8th grade and will be most beneficial to you in algebra. So I'm going to show you that way. I do have a way that you can do it that might be your more comfort zone. So if you don't understand it, I'll show you another way. We can talk about it more in class as well, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. So when we were writing an equation to a line, like you guys saw the other day with slope-intercept form, what we really need is slope and we need the y-intercept. Those are our two main things. That is the m, which I forgot to write in. Oh, that's not the m. The m and the b part of the y equals mx plus b, okay? Y and x are always going to stay letters, where m and b should be numbers, okay? So this is the form that we're writing it in. So m should be a number, b should be a number, everything else stays the way it is, all right? So here we're given some graphs to find. So from the graph, we are looking for the slope and the y-intercept. Which one you find first is kind of up to you. I like to start with slope just because it comes first. Not that you have to, but so that's just how I'm going to show you how to do it, is with slope first. So we're going to find slope. Like I showed you before with finding slope, two ways you could do it. You could either do rise or run from the graph, or if you're more confident with the formula, you could use that to go ahead and just figure out what those ordered pairs are and use them to plug into the formula. Okay? With graph, I think rise over run is a little bit easier. So that's what I'm going to show you, okay? So I'm going to start at this point down here on the left, and I'm going to go from left to right. So from this point, I need to go up 2 spaces. So that means my rise is positive 2. And then I'm going to go to the right 5 spaces. So my run is 5. So to write that in my slope, I just do 2 over 5. So the m part of the equation that I need is 2/5. It's okay if it's a fraction. Most slopes, a lot of slopes that you're going to see are fraction form, okay? The important thing with fractions is that they are simplified. 2/5 is fully simplified, so I can't do anything else with it, so I just leave it as a fraction. The next thing I look for is my y-intercept, so that's where it's crossing the y-axis. So it's crossing the y-axis right here, which is where y is 2, which is where the y is 2, yep. So my y-intercept is 2. So I have 2. Now that I have m and b, I go ahead and put it where the m and the b is in the form. So I have y equals the m, 2/5, times x, plus the b, which is 2. So I just go, oops, sorry, things are popping up. So I just go ahead and write that. That's my equation. That's what I can use to find more points if I want to. Or I can pick an x and plug it in, get a y. I can make a table from it. I could do lots of things with it, okay? So this one, same deal. They give you the points, so that was very nice of them. So if you wanted to use the formula, it's already laid out, ready for you. I'm still going to just do rise over run, because I think you guys are more comfortable with that. So I'm going to go ahead from left to right again, and I'm going to go down 3 places, so 1, 2, 3. So because I'm going down, that's a negative motion. So my rise is actually negative, okay? My run, I go to the right, that's still a positive motion. I end up going to the right 4 spaces. So my slope is negative 3 over 4, which is fully simplified, so I leave it alone, okay? I can confirm that that's correct because I have a negative slope here, like for the number, and I have a negative slope for the line, okay? Next, I look for the y-intercept, which is right here. So I go ahead and take that for my b, and then I go ahead and write my equation with it. Y equals negative 3/4 x plus 7. Okay? All right. C is a little bit tricky because you can't use y equals mx plus b. So this is one of the special cases. This is where we used Hoy-Bucks. So this is a horizontal line. Okay? With horizontal lines, they have a zero slope. Okay? And their equation that they use to find more points is actually y equals the number that all the y points have in common. Okay? So maybe you remember that. It spells out Hoy from Hoy-Bucks. Okay? So this part tells you your equation. It's going to be y equals whatever the number is all these y's have in common, which is basically 2. They all have 2 as their y value. So to write this, we just go ahead and write y, oh, sorry, not 2. It's negative 2, right? It's below the origin. Y equals negative 2. And that's all I have to do for horizontal lines. So with vertical, vertical would be up and down, has an undefined slope, and the equation goes x equals a number. So I just write x and then the number that of the x value that they all have. Okay? So we'll do some practice with that as well. Alright, so that was writing from a graph, which is not too bad because all you have to do is find slope and y-intercept. Writing from a table or from a bunch of ordered pairs in general has a couple more steps to do, okay? So again, I'm showing you this the way I teach algebra, which is not anything that you guys should have trouble understanding. It's the same kind of methods that you guys have already been taught. So substitution, solving two-step equations, not even solving two-step, solving a one-step equation, all stuff that you guys know how to do. All right? Now, worst case scenario, you do the foolproof method at the end when I show you, okay? So we're going to go ahead and fill in these notes. So number 1, we have to start by picking 2 of the points. It doesn't matter which 2, it's any 2 points you want. Okay? And we use those 2 points to find the slope. Now, if you want to graph them and find it by doing rise or run, again, you're more than welcome to. Or you can use the formula with the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Both of them will give you the slope. Once you have the slope, you have an m, but you still need a b. Okay? We're actually going to use the slope, the m that we found, and one of the points, okay? Because from one of the points we have an x and a y. And we're going to use those to plug it into the slope-intercept form. So here's slope-intercept form. So we're going to have a number for y, a number for m, and a number for x. Okay? When we do that, we will only have one variable left, which is the b, your y-intercept. And we're going to solve for that b. Okay? So we're doing it b by itself. Then we know what b is, we know what m is. We can go ahead and plug in the slope and the y-intercept and get our equation. Okay? And it sounds very, very wordy right now. That's because it is. So I'm going to show you how to do it a couple of times, and then you guys will practice it a couple times. And if we get stuck, we'll just take some class time to go over it. Okay? Now, the foolproof method to do if you're getting a little stuck is just take your points and graph them to make a line, and do it like the way I showed you on the first page. So just make a line and get the slope from there and the y-intercept from there. Okay? That's totally fine too. The way I wrote this out in steps for you is more of the algebra way. We're doing it on page 1 was the graphic way. Okay? Just using a picture. But either way works. Okay? So example 4, we got 2 problems. Okay? They want us to write the equation and then graph the line. So that's what we're going to do. So they gave us ordered pairs for A. We're going to write them as a table. It just lines it up a lot nicer. So, and it also helps us practice the table, like making a table. So we're going to go ahead and plug in. So I'm just going to go ahead and write the ordered pairs out. 2, 3, 3, 5, 4, 7, and 5, 9. Okay? So step 1 was to pick 2 points and write your slope. So this could differ from person to person, like which 2 points. It doesn't matter. You could pick the top and the bottom, the middle ones, like it's up to you. What I ended up doing was just picking the first two, since it didn't matter. And those were like the smallest numbers, so it would be easier math, in my mind at least. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to label this first one as 0.1, so this will be x1, y1. Second one as 0.2, so x2 and y2. So now I'm going to go ahead and plug it into the formula. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that's my formula. And remember, I use parentheses. You want to use parentheses for it in case you have negatives you have to deal with. So I go ahead and just simplify this. 3 minus 1 is 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. And then so I get 2 over 1, which I simplified just to be 2. And that gave me my slope. So I get m equals 2. So now, of this formula, I have the m. I don't have the b. But what I do have that I don't need for this formula is I have a bunch of x's and y's. So I'm going to use one of these points to plug in for x and y along with the m. That way the only variable left will be the b. So watch what happens. So again, you can pick any point. So I'm just going to pick the 1, 1, easier numbers to deal with. And I'm going to plug them in for the x and for the y, and I'm going to plug in 2 for the m. So I get this. The only variable left I have is b. So I can actually, when I only have one variable, I can solve for it then. Okay? So what I do is I go ahead and multiply this. 2 times 1 gives me 2. And then I'm going to get b by itself just by subtracting 2 from both sides. And I'm getting b equals negative 1. So now that I have my b and my m, I can actually make my equation. So it's going to be y equals whatever m was, which we found was 2, x, plus your b, which we got was negative 1. So instead of saying plus negative 1, I just wrote minus 1. Okay? Adding a negative is the same thing as subtracting. Alright? If you're not comfortable with it, if you just put plus negative 1, it's perfectly fine. Okay? It means the same thing. Okay? So, now I just go ahead and graph it. So my y-intercept is negative 1. I start there, and then I just go up 2 to the right 1, up 2 to the right 1, up 2 to the right 1, making a bunch of points until I get my line. Okay? So let's try it one more time. So again, take the ordered pairs and put them in your table. Do 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 do. Oh, you just got a sneak peek of what one of the ones I chose. Alright, so those are my ordered pairs. Ignore the blue box for right now. So first thing I'm going to do is pick 2 ordered pairs so I can find slopes. So I actually ended up picking these 2 because I felt like it. It's really, there's no rhyme or reason. And they don't have to be next to each other. You could have picked top and bottom. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to use that to plug in. So this will be 0.1. This will be 0.2. And I'm going to use it. So it's going to be y2 minus y1, 9 minus 8, and x2 minus x1, 2 minus 1. So I made that. I'm going to simplify. 9 minus 8 is 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. So I get 1 over 1, which is just 1. So slope is 1. I picked my 1 point and my slope. So my 1 point is going to be 310. That's what I'm going to plug into y equals mx plus b. And then the only thing I'll have left is b. I'm going to multiply 1 and 3. So I get 10 equals 3 plus b. And now I can just solve for b. So I subtract 3 from both sides. I end up getting 7 is equal to b. So I have my b, I have my m. I can plug in now. Y equals 1x plus 7. If you wanted to write just x, that's totally fine. Okay, because 1 times x just is x. I want you to take note here. This 7 is your y-intercept. This point is a y-intercept as well. When x is 0 and y is a number, that's your y-intercept. So you could have bypassed all of this work if you noticed that. Now, if you didn't, you work it out and you still get the same thing, right? But you could have noticed that was your b, and you wouldn't have to go find it then. Right? But either way, you get the same thing. So now we just go ahead and graph it. Y-intercept is 7 right here. And I'm going up 1 to the right 1, up 1 to the right 1, up 1 to the right 1. And I graph my line. Alright, so you guys are going to try the last 2 on your own. So one I gave to you and it's already in a table, so you don't have to worry about writing that out. And then the other one, I didn't. So this one, you have to graph the line. This, try on your own. I just want the equation. Now, if you are one who wants to graph it to get your equation, that's totally fine. I gave you a graph. It's only there if you need one. Okay? My personal preference, I would like you to try it without the graph because it just prepares you for algebra. Okay? But if you need it, go for it. Like, I'm not gonna, it doesn't matter. Okay? So, those are your notes. I hope you enjoyed them. Again, if you have any questions, we'll go over them in class. Sorry it was very chatty. It's just, I want to make sure you guys understand it. Okay? And I will see you next class. Bye!